Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. We are here for episode number 3.
Yes, I cannot believe it's number 3 already, Faeine.
I know, right? We have to thank everybody for joining us for 3 full episodes. This is exciting. I've really been enjoying this project, definitely. And I think I can speak for you, and you are too, Sat. Is that right?
It's a great piece that we do. One, I think it's great value to our clients that we are adding, but equally as importantly, it forces us to revisit some of those areas. And in that process, we pick up new things and keep ourselves sharp on the toes because we are trying to kind of put out the best value out there. So I think it's duly beneficial.
Absolutely. And you know how they say, what's the saying is like you learn when you teach.
Yeah.
So, there is something to be said for that. And also just staying in the loop, staying in the game and, really, like you said, staying up to date and keeping ourselves sharp.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to stay sharp.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes. So what are we talking about today, Sat?
Well, I was thinking that we should do a video for our audience, for our clients, particularly for those who are just entering into the market. Obviously, this will be very beneficial if you are a first-time home buyer, but I think it's going to be equally as beneficial if you have done some properties before. I think these are such subtle topics that they hardly get talked about in real estate conversations.
Yeah.
And they can be very easily overlooked.
Yeah.
But each one of them can potentially help or hurt you in your next real estate deal.
That's exactly right.
As subtle as they may be, it probably will benefit if you pay a little bit close attention to these 2 or 3 areas. I think they will help you if you know about them. They'll position you better in the marketplace compared to other people who are buying and selling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think point number 1 is picking the right realtor. And I know every realtor says that, but it's so true. And I think there's so many dynamics picking the right realtor and what things do you need to look for in the realtor that you're picking for this particular transaction. It's not necessarily a one shoe fits all, right?
Absolutely not. Yeah.
So what would you, if you were picking a realtor, Sat, if you weren't a realtor and you were looking for a realtor for yourself, what would you recommend? What would you look for?
Well, that's a great question. Let me share with you how I used to do it, because I think a lot of people will relate to this.
Yeah.
When I was buying and selling before coming to real estate market, I mean, I've been in sales and marketing world for 25 years. So supposedly I understood this game, quote unquote, right? But I made the same mistake that everybody else makes coming into the market. Well, how do we choose a realtor? Well, what we do is we either look for somebody we have dealt in the past, which could be a good place to start, or we ask friends and family around, hey, who did you use? We probably give them a call. I think the worst type is when we see an ad on the bus stop and we actually just pick them up, like just out of the ad, right? Because what happens is this is a topic that one of my mentors taught me really, really well. He goes, Sat, think about it this way. You have, let's say supposedly you're buying a $1.2 million property, which is really the very minimal properties nowadays, 1.2. That's what you're buying. He said, let's suppose you have $1.2 million to invest.
Exactly.
Would you just give that business to anyone, right? So, but sadly though, that's how I choose people. I choose people who I felt most comfortable with, who were nice to me. Every ad that I looked on the paper, like you said, Faeine, every realtor told me they're the best. They're the number one.
Yes.
Right? We do this, we do that. All that came into play. I had no idea how to qualify people.
Yeah.
So guess what I did? I picked it based on who I felt comfortable with, who was known or not known to me a little bit.
Yep.
And sometimes whose ad kind of spoke the loudest.
Yes. And advertising. It's not us that necessarily does the advertising. We hire people for the most, right?
Exactly.
And I think also too, people who have a realtor in the family or a friend or family that's realtor, they feel obligated to hire them. And that might not be the best decision for them either, right? They might not be working with somebody who is the best fit for their particular situation and their particular goals, right?
One of the things I notice in my listing appointments, Faeine, when I ask people, hey, why did you choose your last realtor? Like what stands out in what you hear from the messaging from the real estate?
Yeah.
Here are the things I heard. Oh, they were so nice. Oh, he said that he was integrous, or they had really good marketing skills. Now, those are all great reasons. I'm not putting any one of them down.
Yep.
But back up a little bit for a minute and think about this. You're giving somebody a multi-million dollar deal. You hope they're nice to you.
Exactly.
You hope they have some integrity, right?
The biggest financial decision most people make in their entire life. Yeah.
Just based on that, they were nice to me.
Yeah.
Wow. Right. And then you same goes for marketing or anything that they promise. You hope you're giving somebody like the multi-million dollar property to sell. You hope they do nice marketing on it.
Yeah.
Those are just basic starting points. But I find so many people have chosen the realtor, and myself included, based on that. But I think there is more that you need to look for than that because you deserve more. And the only reason I think Faeine people don't do that more is because us Canadians, we are very polite.
We are very polite. Yeah.
Right? We're very like even myself, I come from a total different culture. We are not near as polite as you from my ethnic background, right? In case you couldn't tell, I'm East Indian.
Really? No.
Yeah, you couldn't tell, right? Not from my accent or skin. You could not tell that. But now you know I have to reveal that information to you. But what I found is Canadian culture overall is very polite.
Yes.
And they're very almost afraid of asking the question. Almost afraid because they don't want to be confrontational. They don't want to come across as obnoxious. They don't want to kind of come say, well, I'm going to interview you, quote unquote, and come across this kind of like standoffish person. So they don't do it because they feel uncomfortable with kind of asking questions and asking for the right type of things they need to ask for. And some of them actually.
That's right. Yeah.
You ask for what kind of questions to ask. So the best they will ask you how much experience you have, with your Google star rating. They ask on all those type of things, which again are not bad things to ask, but they are just the starting point.
Exactly.
There is more to that, right? And I think I have designed that I can send you a copy of that you can forward to your listeners as well. I've designed a 6-point PDF that you should think about, talk about to your realtor. Use it as a guide. Get on the phone, just ask point by point, jot down some questions and answers, and you do it with 2 or 3 realtors. You would know exactly what to ask, who is right, who is not.
Yep.
It'll make process so much more easier. If you wanted to use that tool, you can totally do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think, referrals and, word of mouth and reputation and testimonials, I think that plays a huge factor for sure. But it's also having somebody who knows exactly what kind of property it is that you're looking to work with. If that person has expertise in your area, knows what to look for in the type of property you're working with, right? Because of course, a condo in downtown Vancouver is going to be very different than an acreage out in Chilliwack, right? So you really have to know and make sure that the realtor knows what to look for when they're handling properties of this, of this type, right? Because their expertises, and then depending on what area you're in, every area is so unique, especially here in BC. So you kind of have to stay color within the lines. I had a managing broker say to me, whenever, in order to do the best for your clients, make sure that you're coloring in the lines within your area of expertise. If you're not qualified to represent somebody in, say, a commercial listing, I mean, we're all licensed to sell under commercial, but do I ever do anything commercial? Absolutely not. I refer that out to an expert. So just really understanding, does that realtor have the knowledge and expertise, education, and experience working in the type of property you're going to be working with?
Exactly. I'd say think about it like buying a pair of shoes. Okay. You could be buying $100 pair of shoes, but which one is the better shoe, right? The better shoe is the one that fits your feet.
100%. Yes. Oh, analogy. Yeah.
So you got to find the one that fits your unique need, your situation, your timing, your type of property, your area.
Yep.
There are lots of those things that you need to discover to find the right solution for you, right professional for you.
Absolutely. And especially with, I've just renewed every 2 years, we as realtors, we have to go through a relicensing program. And so in order to be able to renew our license, we need to have X amount of credits in certain education through the BCFSA as well as through our board. And so I did actually just take our legal update, and we did a huge portion on natural disasters and flooding and, certain things that are so very area specific. And it was really interesting talking with some of the other agents that were from, say, Northern BC or in Kelowna, in the Okanagan versus Vancouver Island is somewhere in Boston Bar where they've just, or Lytton, right? Where everything is, the forest fires have basically taken it all out. So yeah, definitely, there's that was really eye-opening for me as well. Like, wow, area expertise is so prominent.
Absolutely important. Absolutely. One of the staples there for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Now, this next one is interesting. Okay, so we talked about picking the right realtor. Now, people that buyers and sellers that put too much emphasis on price alone, they think that the number is the be all end all.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily the case, is it, Sat?
No, not at all. It's so what happens is we are all driven by somewhat of a human nature. And no matter how much we try to stay off this topic, it always comes up.
Yeah.
Price is an important driver and it drives the market really, really well in for many different reasons. So we can't really avoid it. But the challenge is when you're focused solely on the price alone and you forget everything else, right? As you know, I work in the mortgage side of business as well. So we help clients secure their mortgages and so forth. So I see this all the time.
Yeah.
People will almost bend over backward, try saving $5,000 on the property side, and then they're tied into a mortgage that's costing them 20 or 30 grand more.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a prime example of how they focused on the price of the property instead of looking at an overall cost of what was it, the overall cost of ownership of this property. Okay. Yeah. There are so many examples of this. I've seen people who have not taken an offer and that was 10 grand less than asking, but then waited in the market for 2 months. And meanwhile, my market went down and now they're forced to do the price reductions. And now they were going to buy another property, which they could have bought for a little bit cheaper before, but now they can't find that same property. So they're going around and they're looking for more and end up paying maybe 5 grand more. Now they're really down to 5 grand. So now you really have to think about it. Okay, was 5 grand worth waiting for you 2 months and putting yourself to all that extra stress that you put into?
Exactly.
Solely because you focus too much on price. Another example would be when somebody is making a deal. They sometimes buyers will walk away from a deal because they love the property. Everything is great, but they can't get it at a certain price. The seller is asking 10 grand more. Yeah. But they love the property. Their kids will go into that school. They see themselves living in there. This could be their property, their home for next 5 to 10 years, right? But they're walking away because it's 10 grand more. Well, when you think about it, unless you're paying cash for that, you're probably putting that 10 grand into mortgage, right? And as your mortgage expert, that 10 grand is what? Like 20 extra bucks on your payment, especially if you're paying a biweekly payment? 20 bucks.
You bring up a very good point is like, so what does that, so the extra $10,000, 5 to 10,000, right? So many negotiations I've done have not come together because of buyer and seller being far apart in terms of maybe $5,000 or $10,000. And what people don't really recognize is that they get so caught up on the number itself. And it sounds scary. Like, I mean, prices these days, like numbers are pretty high. They do sound scary. However, $5,000 on a 25-year amortization mortgage, like what does that really look like? Like 5 grand is what?
Yeah, if you were to pay $5,000 in 25 years, I think you're paying $500 a year.
Right. So on a monthly basis, that is
so
what?
$40 a month.
$40 a month. Most people
roughly
spend more than that on coffee.
Yeah.
Right. It's like when you break it down and look at it like that, it's really 5 grand sounds like a lot as in like one big chunk. But when you're breaking it up over a monthly payment over 25 years, really $40 a month, it's like 40 bucks goes. I don't even know where $40 goes sometimes. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yes, you take them to McDonald's, that's $40.
Well, and that's exactly what I'm thinking, right? Like McDonald's Happy Meals, right?
Yeah. Speaking of Starbucks, did you know, Faeine, they are changing their names now? Starbucks is
changing their names to
what? They're naming themselves $6 because everything is $6 there. That's just so.
Oh, every coffee. Oh, I know. Anyways, that's a whole other topic,
different topic, not related to real estate.
I do love Starbucks though.
Faeine loves Starbucks. So if you like Tim Hortons, talk to me. You love Starbucks, talk to Faeine. Bit more Porsche.
My husband. So when we lived in Westerly, we were 2 minutes away from a Starbucks drive-through.
Right.
Moving out of there, Marty jokes and he says, oh, I think the stock of Starbucks must have decreased by, 20% since Faeine moved away from the Starbucks drive-thru.
Oh, that's funny. Hey, I saw Starbucks the other day just advertising something in French language. I didn't know what it was, but almost every one of their drinks, though, like Ventis and Grande, it sounds like French to me.
Yeah, I think it's Italian venti.
Italian venti, something like that. I like to see them bringing something to do with butter chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Absolutely. Chai latte. Yes. Yes. So, number three, the third mistake people make is letting their emotions take over. Now, being in the industry that we're working in, obviously working in real estate, emotions are very, very high. People tend to get very stressed out. And, it's our job to make sure that people are still being able to make educated decisions while they're in these heightened frames of mind and high emotional states. So, what would you say? Like, what's an example of when people act in the situation or in the transaction where they let their emotions take over? What's the most recent example you have that?
What I have seen, Faeine, it's not just real estate, it's anything. When I was in other businesses, when stakes are high, we are all human nature kind of driven species in a way. And no matter how much you control yourself, that instinct takes over you.
Yeah.
What I find is when people are in those massive decisions, there are three things happen. Either they get too scattered. This example would be they're all over the place. I'm spending $1 million. I don't want to make a mistake. I want to check on this. Make sure no options left out there. I want to check everything.
Yeah.
And their brain is running in like 800 directions. So they're too scattered. And then there is a third kind too that I'm finding a little bit more now, which is sort of like in the middle way where they want to make the decision, but they're so stressed that in that making the decision, they're having kind of fights in between them a little bit. They can't seem to, just because they're under stress of decision making, they seem to get into this disagreement mode with their significant other or kids and so forth. And now because there is not an agreement, they're not on the same level. None of them is feeling comfortable with making that decision.
Yeah.
And they either end up holding property too long if they're selling side, or end up losing property if they're on the buying side because of those type of situations. And again, this is one of those subtle things that we see happening in at least, I'd be willing to bet every other deal at some level or not.
Yeah.
Either people are fearful or too scattered or gotten under stress and gotten into this kind of non-agreement mode. And I think as subtle as it is, it's costing people some time and money and deals out there for sure. I see it happening all the time.
Yeah. Now, another example of where emotions can take over your decision making is viewpoints and perspective on the actual value of a property itself. So what I have noticed lately, especially, is that, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, or, whatever the case may be, sellers are not putting enough emphasis and not understanding the concept of where things are selling for and how their property relates to these properties that are selling. They think that they're sitting on a gold mine, and why their property is worth so much more because, they've had it for 30 years. Their heart, blood, sweat, and tears have gone into this property. They've raised their kids there. They're selling for less, but my property is worth more for X, Y, Z reason. I think, really understanding where price, how do we come, it's very important for buyers and sellers to understand what determines price. How do we come up with price? Is it the tax assessed value? Not necessarily, no. And it's up to us as realtors and to be able to explain that to them and remind them of that when emotion gets too much involved. It starts to kind of cloud their judgment a little bit, right? And not that it's not understandable, it is for sure. But I also think that sometimes it's in their best interest that, we do give them the information so that they're able to kind of see things in the bigger picture, in the grand scheme of things as well.
Absolutely. And one of the things that it's funny that you touched on that, hey, my house is prettier, or the deal I'm making is really that's like grandbaby. I call it grandbaby syndrome. It's that grandbaby is cutest. Why? Because it's yours.
Exactly.
It's just the way it is. There is no rhyme or reason to it. There is no special reason. There could be 100 other kids who are better than that grandbaby, but yours is the best.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think, and that type of thing works when parents are having or grandparents are having little razzmatazz about grandbabies. Unfortunately, that doesn't work for homes.
Doesn't work in real estate. Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think what Faeine you hit it on the head. I think when people knowing that you're going to get emotionally involved and you're going to be emotionally hijacked in a way, Your
Yes.
thinking power is going to be hijacked emotionally. You're somewhat better off to leave yourself in your professional's hand this way. After all,
Yes.
and if you have done, again, good enough job in picking the right realtor, if you didn't throw your money randomly at that step, then you would not have to throw your money randomly at this last step of when it comes to finances.
Yeah. So, and I think, so much of it is okay when you're in a heightened emotional state, understand at the beginning of it, that this could happen. So what are certain things that you can do while you're, as things are starting to get real for, as my quotations here, and, just sort of exercising certain tactics that can help, relax.
I teach and coach my clients through a couple of things. One is think on the paper. There are lots of things going in your head. That's okay. It's normal.
Yep.
Think on the paper. Talk out loud. Don't just keep talking to yourself. Talk to somebody. Talk to a realtor. Talk to a spouse. Talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And then let your professional coach and guide and mentor you through that process and normalize that struggle for you.
Yeah.
And I understand that those words, sometimes the coaching and mentorship and normalizing struggle, those type of words could be a little bit new to the real estate, or you should be expecting from your real estate professional.
Yeah.
But I know Faeine is great at that. Faeine, I've seen you kind of in action coaching and mentoring your clients. Like,
yeah. I think, thank you. And I think you're right. Like it's, when you're talking to somebody else, like we are the person who you need to talk that out to, right? Like you need to, if you're feeling a certain kind of way and you notice that you're getting stressed out about something, don't hold it inside. Let us talk you through that. Let us talk about it. And it's our job to address those concerns that you have and, kind of really just put things into perspective and just really allow you to get those concerns out so that we can address them and make you feel better. Really, that's at the end of the day, that's our job.
That's our job. One of the things I always try to emphasize to people in my practice is we call this 3-day call. When you're in process of buying or selling through us, every 3 days, we're going to have a call. And that call does not have any agenda. It does not have any specific reason. I'm not calling you to book a showing or anything. This call is for this exact purpose only. Sometimes we just shoot breeze, talk about kids, talk about dog and your cute cat, and we are off the phone.
Yep.
Other times, you'd be surprised when you ask few questions, some conversation flows, some questions are asked, and the things that come up that clients sometimes would not otherwise will tell you, and they will tell me something that would be shocking to me that they've been struggling with this for the past 3 days. And
wow.
I ask them, why didn't you just pick up the phone and called me on this or shared or texted or something? Well, I didn't know how to say it. And again, we're going to our Canadian self. I was being too polite to say something that's been kind of rattling in my head for 3 days. And that could be a recipe for a stressful time.
Absolutely.
So just like what Faeine said, just talk out loud, write on the paper, talk to somebody. And as professionals, it's our job to guide, mentor, coach you through this process and normalize your struggles for you.
Exactly. Realtors and life coaches at the same time, right?
Yeah. Hey, one of my clients the other day, he gave me this coolest tag that I'm going to use.
Yeah.
He goes in the review. He goes, right, Sad, you are my realtor for life. Thinking about putting it on my advertisement now. Realtors for life.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good, eh?
I like that a lot.
For helping us with our marketing ideas.
Oh, yeah. Well, awesome. To all of our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this journey. And Sat, why don't you reiterate your telephone number and how people can get a hold of you?
Yeah, it's 604-308-6757 is my number. 604-308-6757. And if you have a hard time remembering my name, just think about short for Saturday, or you can say SAT for satisfaction.
I love it. Myself, 778-347-4663. Once again, 778-347-HOME, spelling home. And if most people can't remember the spelling of my name, so you could always visit themodernrealtors.com and you'll find me there. So again, everybody, and we're always here to help. So we hope this helped you and feel free to reach out anytime.
Absolutely. And we are here to help you and want to give you like the warmest things from the bottom of our heart.
Absolutely.
Would not be successful and enjoying this process and journey as much if it wasn't for all the good people like you. So we appreciate and value you.
Definitely. Definitely. All right, everyone. Okay. We'll talk soon. Okay. Bye.
Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.